Thanks so much for joining us in this edition of Better. I'm Tom Volpe. Before I introduce tonight's guest, I want to let you know who next week's guest is going to be. And that will be a lady, also an author by the name of Ginny Jones Vale. She is the author of a very interesting book called Rochambeau, Washington's Ideal Lieutenant. We've all heard of Lafayette and the role he played in the American Revolution, but few of us know very much about Rochambeau. And it was Rochambeau came to the United States as a result of Lafayette's recommendation to the French leadership. And so he's been very highly recommended, and in her view at least, he made the perfect accompaniment to Washington's struggles that takes you all the way up to the decisive battle at Yorktown. So that'll be next week. This week we're going to be talking with a very interesting lady, also an author, Cynthia James. And we're going to be talking about her book, Warning, Don't Go There. And it's about, well, I guess I'm going to let you, instead of talking to words about because I'll ruin the whole show. First I want to ask you a few questions.
Sure.
This is a self-published book.
Yes, it is.
So the fact that it's self-published reflects the difficulty with all existing authors, almost no matter how famous they are or have become, that when they initially started writing and publishing books or not publishing books, but bringing their manuscripts to publishers, they weren't taken by publishers. Even if they turned out to be great writers later on and received enormous acclaim later on, publishers or their representatives would decline their manuscripts. Partly because, I guess, they weren't known already, so they didn't have a sales track record. If an author can go to a publisher and say, well, I wrote the last book I wrote sold 500,000 copies, or 1,000,005 copies, that publisher is pretty much going to be interested because the publisher knows that for the time and effort they spend in getting the book together, they can make money on it. Every author, however widely known and appreciated they later become, I believe has always said getting that first book published is brutal. It's murder. So before you decided to go the self-publishing route, did you have to bring your manuscript around to lots of different publishers? Did they say, no, we don't know enough about you, we don't know if it'll sell, we can't invest the money? Or did you just say, well, I'm not going to go that route. I want this to be in print. I want this to be the advice that I offer to people to help them out during a similar situation. I'm going to enjoy the expense of having it published myself.
Well, Tom, I'll tell you. In the beginning, this particular book has been published by a vanity press in 2010. Just a cover, the content went correct the way I thought it should be as far as the editing. And I redid my manuscript over. I got it re-edited, and actually my brother did the cover for me. And yeah, he can edit.
It depicts exactly what you're talking about, whether the heart and the barbed wire. With a razor wire.
And I decided to republish it myself. So when you self-publish, you go straight to a printing company after you've done all the editing and covers and everything.
Right. That was part of what I was going to ask you also. So, when you went to a vanity publisher, did they charge you a huge amount of money to do what they do?
They charge a huge amount of money to do what they're supposed to do, which wasn't all of that, exactly. You have no really way of knowing whether they were going to do all of it they were going to do anyway, especially the marketing process of it.
So were you happy with, like, either their cover, their binding, their editing? It sounds like you were not happy with the texture of your manuscript. It sounds like they changed some stuff around, or they missed some stuff, they didn't do it right.
They missed some stuff where they didn't edit it correctly. They said it was my fault, but it wasn't. And I was satisfied with the cover looked fine. The binding, the perfect binding and all that was pretty good. But as far as really what, because right now that book, it's the same title and everything. But right now that book is still is still out there, you know, and I wanted to change it so that I can have the book readable the way it's supposed to be. Mm-hmm.
So then you decided to self-publish it. You changed the manuscript, you re-edited it, the whole thing. You had somebody else edit it.
Yes.
And that was another thing I was concerned about. Like when authors have their books published by publishing houses, they get a lot of services. They get services of copy editors. But I mean, and I think that generally speaking, Jackie Onassis works for, I think, Doubleday as an editor.
Okay.
And most of those editors, I mean, authors are always thanking their editors in the 4 pages and in the acknowledgments because they say they gave so much to the book. You know, they helped me to rewrite it. They helped me to put it in a better way. You didn't have that experience with your editors, or at least not the first editors. And so I presume that when you were self-publishing, you were much happier.
Much happier.
And you probably had your fingers, and they were more under your control.
Yes.
So it's quite a feat. One of the things that would always discourage me from writing a book, if I had the talent to do it, is I know that authors generally write and rewrite and rewrite and rewrite and rewrite and rewrite. I could stand that. Is that what did you have to go through that process?
Well, actually, when I did that book, it started with a journal. After the journal, some of it I had to put on paper, but then eventually it ended up on Microsoft Word. So it was a process because you got to put everything together, chapters together, and see what goes where.
Yeah, and at least not, unlike in the old days when you were using a typewriter or even handwriting things, you didn't have to throw whole page down and re-scribe the whole page, put in the corrections, copy and paste and delete and so forth. So I thought it was that much better. So let's talk about the story itself. So you obviously it's through the entire book, your staunch belief in God and Jesus and religion comes through.
Okay.
And the faith that you have, the confidence that you have that believing in the Lord and in Jesus is going to see you through the day. It's going to protect you. It's going to take care of you. And knowing that that's how you were, and knowing that your initial friend in the book, Kirstie, when she was going to visit her incarcerated husband and wanted you to go with her, you suspected this is not a good thing. This is not something I should do. I think she's going to try to fix me up. It's some kind of a scheme. And so you resisted it, and you resisted it. And you resisted it because of your biblical orientation. And he was giving you the wisdom to say, no, there's something afoot here that I don't like. But eventually, she sort of wore you down and said, and basically, what could have hurt? My husband knows that you're my friend, and we'd like to meet you. And then he said, well, I'll go with a friend. Listen, hey, there's nothing up here, right, Kirstie? And she assured you that there was not. And he said, okay, all right, I'll go. So you go to visit, you meet her husband, everything seems fine, you come home, you get a phone call the next day. And therein starts the problem. Now, all along, you have the biblical orientation, you want to do the right thing, you have the appropriate suspicions, and yet you do what you know you shouldn't do. Anyway, you allow yourself to become interested in and ultimately attracted to a man who's incarcerated.